This is David Montgomery with NetFile, and here is NetFile's review of the proposed Cal Access Replacement System as presented by the Secretary of State at the recent software vendor meeting. Let's first start with an overview of the existing Cal Access system. We start with the Treasurer. Treasurer is using a third-party software platform like NetFile. The Treasurer enters their data into NetFile. Some of that data will be eventually itemized on disclosure statements, some of it will not. The Treasurer then generates a Cal file, perhaps for a Form 460. Since we don't normally view a Cal file and we want to be able to review the document, NetFile software creates a PDF representation of the exact same Form 460 from the Cal filing. That PDF will usually be reviewed by an attorney, a candidate, or other campaign staff person. And then once they've reviewed it, they'll authorize it for filing, saying this is good to go, and then transmit it to the Secretary of State's Cal Access system. It's worth noting here that most of the process is private. The Treasurer, any other campaign staff, attorney review is all performed in their own private workspace, where they are allowed to take many iterations of data entry, document creation, and document review. And during filing seasons, it really is quite iterative because there's a lot of turnover of data and a lot of review and analysis that needs to be done during reporting time. Once this document's received by Secretary of State, however, it becomes public information and can then only be changed through the amendment process. Well, the overview of changes proposed by CARS. One, there will no longer be a Cal document format. There will be no document level format of any kind. All reporting functionality will be provided by the Cal Access Replacement System software. The third-party software will no longer provide any reporting functionality. The third-party software will only be a container for transactions to be transmitted to the CARS system. The e-filing specification provided by CARS will be limited to transaction specifications only. As I said, there will be no document level specifications. So, what does this look like? Well, we still have our Treasurer. The Treasurer could go ahead and just use Microsoft Excel because, quite honestly, the only thing that the reporting software is going to do is just be a container for transactions. So it could be any medium that could support an Excel document or the XML file format that's being provided through the CARS system. So let's revisit our split between public and private. So for the CARS system, you'll have your container of transactions, which might just be an Excel spreadsheet. You will then go to the Secretary of State's website, and you'll use the Browse button on the website to go select your Excel file. You will then upload that transaction information from your Excel spreadsheet into the CARS system. You will then go to another part of the Secretary of State website, and you will create a report, perhaps your Form 460 like we used in the last example. So that report, your campaign staff, attorney, candidate, or whomever will now review that document, and presumably they will also approve it to be able to file it. Well, the question becomes, what exactly are they approving? Are they going to be approving the PDF representation of the data that's stored in the CARS system? Is there any guarantee that the CARS system, if software changes are made by Secretary of State staff, that if the CARS system thinks there's a change, that your document has changed as well? What's been filed is kind of a little bit vague in terms of how the CARS team was responding to us at the Friday meeting. So this is kind of an open question that we're not really sure what exactly would be getting approved by the filer and how there would be any sort of how enforcement would happen based on what was filed. So that's kind of an open question at this point. But presumably that the campaign staff could approve a filing and then it becomes available to the public. So almost all of this process is happening in the public domain because all of the data is stored on the CARS system. The report generation process is happening on the CARS system. The document approval process is happening inside the CARS system. And then, of course, the presentation to the public is happening somewhere in the car system as well. So, in order for a Form 460, for instance, to be calculated, there needs to be some things that we know. So, I'm going to go through an example here. We have Carl the contributor. Carl the contributor makes $10 contributions every month to his favorite political organization. Only when Carl reaches his $100 threshold in October do his contributions start to itemize. And so in the current Carl Access system, the first time you would see Carl's name on a Form 460 would be somewhere in that October statement for a $10 contribution with a cumulative of $100. In the proposed CAR system, in order to calculate a proper cumulative total for Carl, the CAR system will need to know about every transaction that Carl has made through the current calendar year. It's just all there is to it. There is no way to calculate a contributor cumulative if the software does not know about prior contributions. So therefore, all the prior contributions must be uploaded into the CAR system, even though they're below the disclosure threshold. Additionally, if Carl happens to own Carl's plumbing company, well, there also needs to be an explicit declaration that Carl, the contributor, also owns Carl's plumbing. And that is an additional disclosure that is not currently identified as a separate disclosure under the Act. We do currently report a cumulative total aggregate for when Carl, the contributor, or Carl's plumbing report contributions to the same committee, but we don't explicitly show that affiliation to the Secretary of State on any of the current disclosure forms, merely the combined cumulative. So let's take a moment here to discuss the current Cal Access system. 4.1% of the data in the current Cal Access system has come from the freely provided Secretary of State Cal Online software. 95.9% of the data in the current Cal Access system has come from third-party software. There have been 19.4 million campaign data transactions uploaded into Cal Access. Of that 19.4 million, 14 million have come from NetFile as a third-party vendor. NetFile stores more than 50 million campaign finance transactions on the behalf of their California clients. This means that for the average NetFile customer, less than 30% of all the campaign finance transaction activity is eventually disclosed to the Secretary of State as an itemized transaction. So could the proposed CARS solution be acceptable to your organization? Well, would it be okay that all the information that you currently enter into your third-party software is now stored in a state-owned database? Do you believe the Secretary of State's planned software will generate e-filing documents that are complete and accurate and up to your standards? Do you believe that there won't really be any additional time or labor required in order to use the state software as opposed to your current third-party reporting platform? And will that new CAR software provide equivalent functionality for generating disclosure statements as your current third-party software provides? Also, will there be adequate technical support provided by Secretary of State that's equivalent to your current third-party provider? If you believe all these things are true, then the CAR solution might work for you. However, NetFile feels that there are many failures in this planned CARS design. First of all your data is now going to be stored in a state-owned database, including a large amount of information not disclosable under the Act, in particular, unitemized contribution amounts, relationships between contributors. So all these things are new and different things, and you have to provide a whole lot of extra information in order to calculate a 460 compared to just reviewing a 460. All reporting data then therefore becomes subject to a public records request because it's stored in a state-owned database. That data may or may not yet be vetted by your own campaign or legal staff. Your effective disclosure threshold becomes 0 because you need to provide the unitemized contribution amounts in order for the CAR system to generate cumulative totals for contributors that cross the reporting threshold. This is especially bad for payroll deduction packs. Many transactions from payroll deduction packs will never be reported. completely removes the ability of third-party software vendors to actually expedite, facilitate, or improve the reporting process. 20 years of experience from the existing third-party filing community has effectively been cut out of the picture. There is no way for a vendor like NetFile or NGP or Statecraft or any of the big players to actually sit down and help filers with the process. The treasurers are going to be left alone dealing with the Secretary of State. There will be no one else to help facilitate the process. It places all functional reporting control into the hands of the Secretary of State's office. This is a huge problem given that the current Cal Access system has largely been abandoned for many years now, is not maintained properly, has no staff internally at the Secretary of State's office that actually understands its function, and really there's nobody inside the agency that actually cares about the process. It really seems to be an orphan system, and there really is not any reason to believe once this flurry of project building and delivery occurs that the Secretary of State will actually suddenly start to care about campaign finance. There's also a great deal of question about the review and approval process of filing documents generated by the CAR system. What will actually the document of record be? What is the treasurer approving when they provide the filing? If there is no document level specification, is it merely the generated PDF document? Is that now your e-filing receipt? Is that what now will be enforcement will be based upon? And that's really a very sticky wicket because remember, there's a whole lot of information that's being provided to the CAR system that has to be in their database in order to generate a document like a 460 that will not be visible through the 460 document PDF itself. Will the treasurer be held responsible for that information? Part 2 of the failures of the CAR system. Software always changes over time. What does this mean if a treasurer approves a document for a particular filing period? The software is then changed at some point in time by Secretary of State IT staff, and then the system would actually generate the same filing period's document in a different way in the future. What is the actual document of record? Are we really saying that the PDF generated and viewed by the treasurer is really the document of record? Why are we going towards basically back to a paper-based system if the only thing that enforcement is going to be based upon is going to be a PDF document? Okay, like I said before, there are many, many bits of information that go into a campaign finance disclosure database that need to be there in order to create documents like the Form 460 that are not required in the actual, well, they're required to produce the document, but they would never be displayed in the document, so therefore they would never be disclosed. It assumes the Secretary of State is actually going to suddenly become knowledgeable about the business processes of campaign treasurers. This really seems highly unlikely given they don't have any technical staff internally, and by technical I mean professional technical, knowledgeable about campaign finance law, knowledgeable about the reporting process, knowledgeable about the business processes that treasurers go through in order to comply with the law. They simply have no knowledge of that at this point in time, and it doesn't appear that they have any plans to hire the type of staff that would need to be internal staff, permanent staff members of the Secretary of State to learn that information. It also assumes that the Secretary of State will be able to handle an exponential increase in the amount of reporting activity they currently deal with. If you ask any of the people at the Secretary of State, they're incredibly busy during reporting periods because they're helping that 4.1% of data get into the Cal Access system. If they took this CARS project plan to fruition, that means that an additional 96% of filing activity is going to be coming their way, that they're going to have to be responsible for helping the filers get it filed. And you know what? This document, this type of reporting activity is going to be a lot more complicated than the little mom and pop treasurer work that they've been doing to this point. And there's no provision for filing the report you want as a treasurer. NetFile's been doing this for 20 years, and we have collected so many different edge cases and scenarios and different little nuanced reporting requirements over the years that it's just absolutely crazy to believe that the CAR system is going to be able to walk in, provide a Form 460, even if it's just the Form 460, a Form 460 document generation process that works universally for all campaign treasurers as a one-size-fits-all thing. It's just absolutely unbelievable. You can put five professional political attorneys in the same room and have five different interpretations about how a Form 460 should be produced. It's just simply there's too much variability in what treasurers want to see, and this system, being a data-driven system, what the software produces through CARS will be the document you file. Your only choice is going to be to file or non-file. There is not going to be a way to hack a document and change a number or change a text description that is going to be outside of the normal software document generation process. Please feel free to contact NetFile with any questions or comments you have about this video. If you'd like a copy of the documentation that Secretary of State provided as their handout for the Friday meeting, our staff will be happy to forward that along to you. Also, if you have any questions about the statistics I threw into the middle of the presentation, feel free to ask me, because I'm happy to share my methodology with anyone who asks. So thanks. Have a great day.